For my final digital adventure project, I decided to start off with my collaborative DA, and I decided to do this one on Twitter because I started using Twitter when I was in high school, and this was just a really popular way for us high schoolers to get our thoughts and comments out into the world. But now, as an adult, I see a whole different use of Twitter. I see it through a professional um, lens. I use it for to communicate with other professionals and to get different ideas to use in my classroom. So, some background, the price of it is free and there are no computer requirements. You just need to have access to the internet, or if you're using your cell phone, you can use data as well. There are no specific subjects that need to be used or that can be used on this. It can relate to any subject. The averages for these three different topics, my educational one, I ranked it at an average of 2.8. And that's because there are a lot of parts of it that can cover learning, but it doesn't encourage critical thinking or it doesn't really challenge learning in any way. Usability was at a 3.6 because you can use it anywhere, you can use it for anything, and any age can use it as well. For content, I had an average of 4 because the content can range. It can be as explicit as you want it to be, it can be as professional as you want it to be, it can be any content that you would like to look at. For the strengths, one major strength is age range. So it doesn't just apply to professionals and it doesn't just apply to teenagers or young adults. It applies to everybody. Obviously, that goes to an extent because you don't want first graders using Twitter, but I would say from like fourth grade on up, Twitter would be a good resource for them to use. There are also multiple purposes that Twitter can be used for. You can use it, like I said, for professional, you can use it for recreation, you can use it for research. There's a lot of researchers out there, professionals who share their discoveries with everybody. Involvement is also a strength. You can tag other people in your tweets, they get a direct notification about that. You can message people, and then they get that direct message, and then that way nobody else sees the communication between you guys. You can also search or you can hashtag your tweets, and that will link it to that specific topic as well. So you can search that topic or you can link your tweet to that topic, and then that way all those different tweets within that topic will be brought up. And the simplicity of it is also a strength. There's not much that you can do with it necessarily. You can pretty much tweet, you can retweet, you can like a tweet, or you can message. And you can obviously, within those boundaries, go more in depth. But just as a starter up, it is very simple to use. Accommodations, like I said, the involvement of it ranges. You can be as involved with it as you want. You can use it as your primary resource to connect to other professionals, or you can use it as a recreation. So you can get on it once a year if you want. You could get on it multiple times a day. So that is also really nice. The simplicity of the design is very simple. You log in and you just see the feed, and your feed will revolve around the people that you follow or the hashtags that you follow. So that way you only see what you're interested in. To create a tweet is very easy. You just click on one of the buttons and it brings you to the prompt, brings up your keyboard, and you just type right in there. If you wanted to add a picture or a video, that button is linked right into that prompt as well. So it's very easy to use. And then the accessibility on any device also makes it very easy to use because you can use it on a laptop, you can use it on an iPad, you can use it on your cell phone, you can use it on a desktop. Any device that can connect to the internet or use data, you can access Twitter on. The effectiveness of Twitter, it's open communication, which makes it very attractive to a lot of people because, like I said, I follow a lot of educators who are very well known in this field. And so for them just to be able to tweet out their findings or their recommendations in a classroom I love because it makes that information very easy for me to use. The organization of Twitter is also very effective because, like I had said earlier, it's very simple and there's not many options for you to use. So it makes it effective in a sense that you are able to complete what you want to do in a very quick manner. And you're also able to search what you want and get thousands of tweets within that topic in a very quick way. The setup for Twitter is also very simple. You can type in, all you have to do pretty much is give them your basic information, what you want your username to be, your password, and then it walks you through different steps and different ways to search hashtags and different ways to search people. And throughout like that first month there, as much as you're involved with it for that first time period, it will give you prompts of different ways that you can use Twitter and different ways that you can click on it, which makes it very effective as well. My biggest problem and concern being an educator is the lack of a filter on Twitter, because you can search specific things, like I said, but you can block certain words and certain content, but that doesn't necessarily mean that inappropriate things are not going to pop up on Twitter. And thinking about Twitter being implemented into a classroom, this is a very huge concern because you want to be able to protect your credibility as a teacher and you want to be able to protect your students as well. So you don't want inappropriate things popping up because of a source that you have used. For my second GA, I chose to talk about my multimedia, and I had used iMovie. So the basic background of it: price is free. Computer requirements is an Apple product, so for me it's my MacBook. And then this can relate to any subject. My averages, educational value, it averaged at a 2.3. So basically, I agreed with everything stating about the independent learning, and it covers a wide range of skills, and it encourages critical thinking. I think that this covered most of it. Usability, I ranked at a 2.6 because I gave it a 1 for the user level being set for advanced and beginner, because it pretty much is just a flat level. There's no way to increase or decrease it. And then for content, you got a 3.4. I thought it was the information was free of stereotypes. It could be used by anybody who has iMovie. So the strengths, there are very few tools, which make this which makes it less confusing for students to use, which I think is really important. So the software is just very straightforward. So it was really easy to figure out what to click on, where to find what you're looking for, and what the tools were supposed to be doing. Another strength of it is that you're able to overlap your videos and your voice. So I know that there are projects that I had a video that I wanted to use or that I had created that didn't have sound, or maybe I wanted to add music to it. So I was able to download all of those different pieces of multimedia, and I was able to overlap them, which obviously made my videos more in-depth and a higher quality. And then the other strength that I had talked about was how easy it was to be able to save this video, and then how easy it was to export it from iMovie onto my desktop or into a flash drive, or just export it out of the iMovie software, which makes it very easy to use. For accommodations, it was very generic to set up. There wasn't many steps that went into it. Excuse me. There were not. The biggest part for me was the tool part of the accommodation. So you could have as many tools as you wanted. So it starts off with very basic tools, which is really nice for my students who are right at that level. They don't need much of a challenge, that this project alone would be enough of a challenge for them. But then for my higher level kids, the option to have more tools and to incorporate more effects into their movie would present more of a challenge for them. So I really liked that aspect of the different tools that could be used to then challenge my students in different ways. which then leads down to the third point for accommodations. Any level learner could use this because of the different challenges that could be used and presented to all the different students. The effectiveness, I said it was very easy to use. I was able to complete the project that I wanted to complete fairly simply, and it was very easy to import and to export and to overlap the videos and to also import different videos as well. The other part that I really liked about this is also, again, tying this into my students. It's easy enough to use for them to be able to sit down in a class and to complete a video within one class period, which I think is really important because in that way they don't have to have the software at home, or it's not going to take up too much of my class time with my students. A downside of it, though, is it's only compatible with Macs or with an Apple product. And this is very difficult, which I'll talk about later too, because not everybody obviously has access to Macs, which doesn't make it as effective. Problems and concerns, I'm going to jump down to the fourth one because it ties into what I was just saying, but it's only compatible with Mac, so obviously you can only use this if you have a Mac, and you're only able to play around with it if you have a Mac. So I think it's very difficult because many schools nowadays use Google. A lot of kids will have Google accounts set up with their school district, and most school classrooms use Chromebooks. So this would be a difficult, this would not be able to be applied into classrooms because of that aspect. It's because schools are so Google based. So I maybe would not be able to be implemented into classrooms. Problems and concerns, other ones, adjusting time and length. I had a very difficult time figuring that out at first. I obviously was able to figure it out, but it was not something that jumped up in my face where I was able to figure it out right away. I also had to look it up and just get a tutorial really fast on how to do that. And I could have missed it, but if I wasn't able to figure it out right away, I don't think my students would have been able to. If you're not a frequent user, it's difficult to be able, or to get the hang of these tools and how to use them within each other. So I played around with it for a while and I eventually got the hang of it. But for my students to sit down and bust out something quickly would probably be difficult for some of them, even though I said it would be able to be used within a class period. The depth of the project would have to be very simple because they would not be as familiar with these tools, which it would take some time for them to become familiar with it. And because I had spent so much time with it and I looked up different videos of how to use the different tools, I started to get frustrated with it at the very end just because I had spent so much time on it to create something so simple. And so I can see my students being very frustrated because they won't have the time to play around with the tools like I did. But those were my two that I had talked about. I really enjoyed these projects and I hope you guys did as well.